through Christ, all things work for the positive. At this time, I would like to invite Shirley to come.
Welcome, and thank you for coming to show your love and support for our family. It means so very much to us. I'd like to say a few words about my father. Our dad, Dinko, was born January 7th, 1936 in Bilicich, Croatia. January 7th is Christmas Day in the Julian calendar. And oh, what a gift he was to us. But it is also National Bobblehead Day. Which is quite poignant because if you knew my dad, you knew how he loved his big valve, Billy Bass, and any other animatronics he could get his hands on. He was a child at heart. As a young boy, on a small island in the shadow of the war-torn former Yugoslavia, my dad's childhood was filled with chaos. His father, Ivo, traveled to America, working tirelessly to secure visas for Dad, Noni, and Tatooine to join him there. They were separated for 14 years during this process. In the meantime, my Nono sent my dad a simple yet powerful gift, a soccer ball. This soccer ball became his lifeline, a way to escape the harsh realities of the war around him. On the island, many families had fled due to the air raids and bombings, and there were very few children left. This left Dad to search out the teenagers to play ball with. And being that he was the only one on the island with a soccer ball, they gladly let him play. It was with these teenagers that Dad developed a talent for playing soccer that propelled him to an impressive but short-lived career, playing for the LA Aztecs when it was still a startup team. At this time, Pele had come out of retirement and he was playing for the New York Cosmos. And yes, my dad played against the greatest of all time, Pele. However, his career was cut short because Uncle Sam called him. And he went into the military where he was stationed in Alaska for 2 years. His service fast-tracked him to American citizenship, something that he valued his entire life. When he returned from the army, his heart was broken. He found out that this chick that he was engaged to was cheating on him. So, he did what any self-respecting man would do. He hopped into his brand new Oldsmobile, he popped a 45 into the onboard record player, and he cruised out to the record store in Long Beach. And this is where two universes collided. It was like an angel from heaven. There she was. It was Sharon. She wore her hair beehive, ponytail under the waist, and he was in love. Within weeks, they ran away to Tijuana and got married. Good news, Sharon said, there is no way this is legitimate, and so she would not live with him unless they went to Vegas and made it official. So off they went with her bestie Roxy and her boyfriend, and they got good married. Well, that wasn't good enough for Noni. She said, no, you married Catholic Church. So there they go again, and they got married at Mary Star. Dad always joked that he can't divorce Mom because she would take him for 3 times as much money. Dinko and Sharon created a life together and had 5 children. The firstborn was Antoinette. She was a precocious child, headstrong, too smart for her own good, often butting heads with her parents. Her teenage years and young adulthood were wrought with emotional distress, and unfortunately, her life was cut short, and she passed at the age of 29. Their second child, Johnny, passed at the age of 1 month due to sudden death infant death syndrome. A tragedy I believe they never really came to terms with. 2 years later, I arrived. I was very shy, and I watched from the shadows of my outgoing and boisterous older sister, Antoinette. I always felt that I had an obligation to fill the void of the tragic loss of Johnny, and I felt I held a special place in my parents' heart. And growing up, this became a blessing and a curse. I held myself to standards that always pushed me to be the best version of myself that I could be. The work ethic and determination my parents instilled in me facilitated a drive to pursue a doctorate in psychology. And a true example of how my father fulfilled the American dream by having a child that exceeded his educational level because of his sacrifice. Next came the golden child, a boy with his namesake, Eulogy. Dinko was a brilliant student, and he embodied all that Dad was in respect to soccer talent, innate drive to learn, and an ability to master any interest he had. At 18 years old, this all came to an abrupt change when Dinko was involved in a motorcycle accident, leaving him with a brain injury and an inability to pursue and achieve the goals he had dreamed of. My father has never been able to reconcile and accept this profound loss, but he continued to love him just the same. And then there was the baby of the family, our Kathy. The light and joy we all needed. Throughout her life, Kathy has been able to bring laughter and positivity to each and every one of us at the most critical times. Her dedication to Dad's business, working side by side with him, was invaluable, and it brought Dad the confidence and support he needed to manage the yard during the tumultuous years before it closed. Her loving commitment to family has been the glue that has held us together throughout the many trials life has thrown our way. So let's backtrack a little. During high school, in the early years of our parents' 63-year-old marriage, Dad was working at some boatyard. Maybe you've heard of it. It's Wilmington Marine Service. He was a dedicated employee. He was the first to arrive, last to leave. Hands calloused from hard work, skin tanned from hours in the hot sun, and the drive to succeed. He eventually bought that boatyard, and he was able to provide a beautiful life for his family. His name became the brand of the business, with people traveling from ports everywhere to have their boats repaired by him. He became so well known that celebrities and business tycoons alike sought him out for their repairs. Customers with names like Robert Wagner, Natalie Wood, Dennis Wilson of the Beach Boys, they were often seen there. But the boatyard became more than just a business. It became a gathering place for friends and anyone who wanted to come for Thursday night barbecue. For years he hosted these meals, and it was truly the best of times for him. Dad's journey from immigrant laborer to successful business owner is truly the embodiment of the American dream. We are all so very proud. Dad really loved his family. There is nothing he wouldn't do to help us. He was very generous with us, but he also taught us work ethic, the power of can, and a desire to do the best we could at any task we were met with. He especially loved his grandchildren, who referred to him as Nono. There were 2 waves of grandchildren. The first wave was Tori, Vince, and Antoinette, and these were the boatyard grandkids. They spent a lot of time in the yard, along with Nicole and Cindy, exploring the boats, mixing up the screws behind the counter, hunting for crabs, playing hide and seek, exploring the attic, and most fun of all, driving the tractor. On Saturdays, Noah would show up at my house in his big old white van. He'd throw all the kids they'd head down to the yard and they'd go for a boat ride. They all had such a beautiful relationship with him. The second wave of grandkids is Brooke and Brianna. Although they spent countless days at the yard in their playpen or running around the office, the business was dissolved when Dad retired and they were still quite young. So they experienced a little bit older than him, but still got to know his robust and gregarious personality. His daily routine was to drive by their house and try to catch them outside so he could say hi and give them a handful of quarters. He watched them perform cheer routines and dances in his living room for hours. He was their best audience. They truly lit up his life. Then there's his only great-grandchild, Mila. Sadly, she won't remember the times that she served him plates full of beads and sequins and he would pretend to eat them. Nor will she remember sitting on his hospital bed and sharing a big bowl of cut fruit with him, singing him songs and giving him the sweetest little kisses. But he will remember these precious moments as he's watching down over us and gleaming with pride that he did a good job. Dad lived life with the sole intention of making others laugh. He was always making stupid dad jokes. My favorite was the one about Giuseppe, who came to America and went to Disneyland, and the sign said Disneyland left, so he went home. Dad was also famous for faking an injury, dancing with zero dignity, wearing something outrageous, or trying to use a metaphor that sounded something like Ricky Ricardo would say. Our favorite was when he was trying to make a point with Kathy, and he said, "Where do you think I got it? Off the top of my thin blue hair?" He indeed made us laugh. We will never forget the sacrifices he made to give us a good life. We will honor his memory and hold him in our hearts forever. Our lives have been forever changed without him, but he wouldn't want sadness or crying. So in the words of Billy Bass, my dad would say, "Don't worry, be happy."